Our afternoon efforts were a little longer than we expected, and we had a longer CRA meeting. Having said that, I'd like to, for those of you here for the first time, we appreciate your being here. And just to let you know, we begin with a few announcements and a presentation tonight. We had one presentation already, which city received $740,000. I think that's what the check says. 27? Oh, okay. I stand corrected. It's just money. So so let us begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. If I could ask you all to please stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Following our pledge, we offer a moment of silence before we begin the evening meeting. And tonight, I'd like you to join me in remembrance of our former city attorney, Tom Ansbro, who very, very unexpectedly passed away since our last meeting. So please join me in this moment of silence. Thank you. And for those of you who knew Tom and would like to pay your respects, I believe it's next Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, Tuesday here at the Broward Center at 6 p.m. We'll be having a celebration of life in remembrance of Mr. Ansbro. Okay, so I also want to take a moment of personal privilege to announce one person who is retiring from the city this month of November, Onisa Garona. She was a senior financial administrator. She had been with the city for 20 years, and she actually has retired, and we want to thank you for your service. Thank you so much. All right, so Mr. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Commissioner Herbst? Vice Mayor Glassman?
Here.
Commissioner Beasley Pittman?
Here.
Commissioner Sturman?
Here.
Mayor Trentalles?
Here. And we have a full attendance, a couple of agenda announcements. In CM2, that's on the consent agenda, that's going to be removed. The events were canceled by the promoter. Darn, what am I going to do that night? Okay. Hold on. And then R4 is being removed from the agenda as requested by the city manager. So if you're here on either of those items, those will not be addressed tonight.
Okay,
However, what we will...
CM2 and what's the other one?
CM2 and R4. Okay, so now... And also we have a change on CR6. The CAM was revised to correct the funding errors on pages 9 through 11. The revised CAM was also added in Exhibit 1 resolution as the CAM is attached to it. All right. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes and the agenda as amended? Been moved. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Sturman?
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst? Vice Mayor Glassman?
Yes.
Commissioner Beasley Pittman? Yes. Mayor Trentalles?
Yes, and so the minutes and the agenda as amended have now been approved. So we had an earlier presentation in which Congresswoman Sheila Sheriff-Less McCormick came and visited our meeting and presented us with the check that you see in front of us, which is intended to be applied towards a project in Lauderdale Manors, a multimodal connections project. Very appreciative of the Congresswoman for having undertaken that task, and the money will be well spent. The second presentation, which is the only other presentation we have tonight, is where I am honored to present a proclamation declaring November 2024 as National Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Month in the city of Fort Lauderdale. And I would ask if Louisa Agathon, who's our manager of the Neighborhood Support Division, and other members of the task force, if they can please join me at the podium. team here. I think I have one for all of you.
Yeah, I can hand them out, Mayor. Yep.
First of all, on behalf of the City Commission and members of our community, I want to thank you all for the dedication and commitment that you have given to our city and our neighbors in trying to assist the city in helping through our homeless crisis. Thank you all for the good work that you do. And in recognition of that, I would like to read and present to you a proclamation, a copy of which you are each being given tonight. In recognition of the National Homelessness Awareness Month. Whereas National Homelessness Awareness Month serves to affirm our dedication to raising awareness, mobilizing resources, and working together to address the needs of those affected by homelessness. The city is addressing homelessness through a comprehensive approach, collaborating with organizations such as the Task Force Ending Homelessness, Broward Partnership for the Homeless, the Salvation Army, Broward County Homeless Continuum of Care, Henderson Behavioral Health, Broward Addiction Recovery Center, SunServe, and numerous other essential partners. This collective effort involves partnerships with diverse community stakeholders, including our 17th Judicial Circuit Court, the Broward Health Point, as well as numerous civic associations within our city. Together, they confront the root causes of homelessness and provide crucial support to those in need. This unified action serves as a powerful testament to the community's determination, pooling resources and expertise to address critical issues with compassion. In fiscal year 2024, the City of Fort Lauderdale Police Homeless Outreach Team, the Fort Lauderdale Fire Department Mobile Integrated Healthcare Unit, and the Neighbor Support Division welcomed 2,842 individuals through walk-ins and notices to appear to the community court, making over 3,100 referrals to essential services such as housing, case management, and mental health support. The city has strengthened efforts to combat homelessness through collaborative programs and dedicated outreach, such as the city's Housing Navigation Program, in partnership with Task Force Ending Homelessness, which has identified 162 homeless individuals and successfully housed or reunified 34 of them through ongoing engagement. The Homeless Outreach Team has further supported the city's efforts by reuniting 30 individuals with their families and conducting over 2,800 outreach engagements across the city, while the fire department's mobile integrated healthcare unit reached out to 100 homeless individuals who frequently call 911, connecting them with essential services. Finally, this month and throughout the year, the City of Fort Lauderdale urges our community members to acknowledge the many individuals affected by homelessness and to offer support to our local partner agencies and organizations. Now, therefore, we, as City Commissioners of the City of Fort Lauderdale, do hereby proclaim November 2024 as National Homelessness Awareness Month in the City of Fort Lauderdale, dated this November 7th, 2024, signed by myself, Mayor Dean Trantalis, and congratulations and thank you for all the work that you do. Louisa, do you have any thoughts? Anyone from the team want to say anything? No? Okay. Congratulations and thank you.
We had we had a lot of other service providers here with us tonight. They have since left, so I thank you all for staying with us, and thank you for your help through community court and throughout the year. Thank you.
Great. Did everybody get one? I'm just saying I have an extra one here. Take a picture?
All right, everybody step this way a little bit. Face me here. Everybody behind the mayor.
Step up a
Step
little bit.
forward.
Shine on light.
All right. Make sure.
Oh, come on, we have more. Okay, so let us proceed with the rest of the meeting. At this point, I would ask the members of the commission if there's any item on the consent agenda that they would like pulled. This is a process where we normally vote for all the consent agenda items at one time. However, if there's one item that a member of the commission wishes to pull, we will pull that item and vote on it and discuss it separately. If there's an item that you signed up for tonight that has not been pulled and you would like to speak on it, then we'll be very happy to pull that item for you, and you'll be allowed to speak before we take that vote. So, Commissioner Herbst, do you have any consent agenda items that you would like to pull? Commissioner Beasley Pittman?
None.
I have none. Vice Mayor?
None.
And Commissioner Sturman?
Well, two things. First of all, I'd like to pull CR2.
Okay.
And there is somebody in my community who does want to discuss something. I'm not going to pull it, but I just want to make sure if I don't pull somebody, do they still have an opportunity to discuss it?
If they signed it up.
Yeah, okay, so there is somebody in my community that wants to discuss something.
CR9?
Two. I'm pulling
CR2, but it's CR9 also?
No, I'm just pulling one item, CR2. That's all I'm pulling.
Okay. There's CR9, Ted and Sarah asked to speak. So we'll be pulling, we'll let Mr. and Sarah speak before we vote on the others. So right now, except for CR2 and CR9, do I hear a motion to approve all the consent agenda items? Been moved. Do I hear a second? Moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Sturman,
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Glassman,
Yes.
Commissioner Beasley Pittman,
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis.
Yes, and all those consent agenda items are now approved except for CR2 and CR9. And Commissioner Sturman, CR2.
Okay. I'd like to, it's a,
Stephanie Provost asked to speak on that.
okay, CR2 is a resolution, right? I'd like to, before I talk about it, I'd like to propose the resolution. I'd like to propose an amended version of that. Now, Dwayne, you worked out the language that we spoke about earlier?
So what you're going to do is propose a change to the attachment and rather section 5.
Which exhibit are we looking at?
The actual resolution. So
Exhibit
section
4.
5 of resolution talks about section 4.0 with regards to pets.
Okay, so what I'd like to have is, instead of having we had discussed up here in conference about how to enact this, and I think the consensus was to do it as a pilot, and there was some people that wanted every neighborhood to have dogs, some that didn't want to have dogs, some that said, listen, let neighborhoods opt in and out. People were not part of neighborhoods. So the way I wanted to propose this is to have, it's not an automatic, but a mechanism for either HOAs or residents. Not everybody lives in an HOA, but residents also, to submit a request to the Parks Department to allow dogs in parks as a whole, sort of making it as a pilot as opposed to just having dogs allowed in every single park. So that's how I'd like to propose that the resolution to go forward. What?
I'm a little confused on that. Could you explain that again? I'm sorry.
Okay, we had discussed this, and at one point there's only two categories, dog parks, and the rest of them do not have dogs allowed at all.
Right.
Aside from like right-of-ways and whatnot, where you could walk your dog on a leash, but the parks themselves, and they had, the thought was to have dogs in every park.
Right.
And our thought was, okay, let's make it a, and I think Steve had a discussion, and we had discussed that, let's have a pilot program or phase it in, because in my neighborhood there were some HOAs that really wanted to have parks that have dogs in every one of them. There were some that did not want to have dogs for various reasons. Either the kids were afraid of them, or PTSD, or health reasons, or immunocompromised, cancer on chemo, whatever. So the thought was at the time was let's have a mechanism by which it's not all or none. They'll have three categories. One, dog parks. Number two, parks that allow dogs. Number three, parks that dogs are not allowed in. And the way to delineate them is have a mechanism by which neighborhood associations or HOAs, or my thought is even individuals, could simply request it from the Parks Advisory, and they could vote on it, and they could giving them the authority to allow dogs in parks based on whatever criteria they have. So it's not everyone has to have a dog. So neighborhoods do have control. If they decide there's some areas that they do not want to have dogs, leave them authority to do that. So that's how I want to.
So just for clarification, and so if I've got a neighborhood that's got 15,000 residents in it, and one person says they don't want a dog in the park, they go to the Parks Advisory Board, and the advisory board then has the authority on that?
Yeah, well, the advisory board will say, "I'm sorry, the rest of your neighborhood wants it." So whatever.
But I guess that's a question, Warren. What's our criteria for the Parks Advisory Board? Because that's putting a lot of burden on the Parks Advisory Board to figure out how they want to do that. So I think if we're gonna go down that path, I think we need to figure out what that decision process is going to be. So let me give you an example, right?
Sure.
When we're going to do the undergrounding assessments, we say we have to, put out a mailer, and 70% of the people that respond have to agree to it before we'll impose that assessment on them. So what would be the process for Parks and Rec to make that determination as to whether or not a particular park should or should not fall within that category? I'm concerned from a process perspective.
Here's okay. Can I? Where did he go? Come on. Here's the thought. I mean, that could be. The question is, do we have to get into the nitty gritty, or could we? We could trust the Parks Department to decide on their own how they want to actually administrate this, and they could say. They could say whatever. They could say a minimum of 3. You have to have a vote by the HOA. It has to be a majority. I mean, I don't know if we have.
Well,
to
can I just say one thing? If you want to get into that, we're not voting on this tonight, because that sounds really complicated, and you may have tremendous merit to what you're saying, but you're trying to define a process that I don't understand right now. Yeah. And I'm not even sure it's even enforceable. I don't know who would manage that decision, park by park. I mean, it's going to be very, very difficult. But why don't we just pull the item and have further discussion on it? Because
pull it for another day.
We're going to have to, because
okay.
I'm not saying what you're saying is not acceptable. I just don't understand. I have to think it through. And I can't do it on the fly right now.
Okay. That's fine.
Shall we just pull the item?
Mayor, if I may.
Who's talking?
That's me, Carl.
Oh. I didn't know where you were. I was looking, where?
The voice of God.
Good evening. Carl Williams, Parks and Recreation Director. Just for a point of note, at the last time when we presented this item, the commission as a body, gave me direction to bring this back to our Parks Board for them to do just that, to see if there's a way for neighborhoods to vote in, vote out, and that sort of action. Now, when we did take it there to the board, their thought process was to just open it up because of the process would be too complicated, and it would be an enforceable challenge, especially with the limited resources we have from a park ranger perspective to manage that. And so that was the direction or recommendation from the board, to not move in that direction, but to just open it up to all parks to be dogs, except for the areas noted within the park rules.
Well, I'll put it this way. I mean, I know the cop-out is you're not going to be able to enforce it, so why even bother having a rule? But I'll be honest with you, you can't enforce it now anyway. I mean, there's in the dog parks, I mean, there's just way too few park rangers to enforce the rules you have right now. And the only thing you could do is have signage and information, and no matter what you do, you're not going to have 100% compliance, and there's no way you can enforce it. All dogs, no dogs. And I think having neighborhoods and groups that, for whatever reason, if you want to have parks that in some areas you don't want to have dogs. There are people who love their dogs and want to be there, and there are people who are deathly afraid of dogs, or, again, as a physician, they might be on chemotherapy, immunocompromised, they have kids that are susceptible to disease. I think having people the right to enjoy parks without dogs, it doesn't have to be all or none. I think it is prudent to have some areas that do have dogs and some that don't. And we had a mix when I had and you were there with me when we had a town hall about this. A lot of neighborhood presidents said they do want it, and there was a lot of neighborhood presidents that were very vocal and said, we don't want it, and it's not uniformly agreed one way or the other. I would like it I don't want to mandate that every park has to have a dog. I think there should be a mechanism, and if
And so why
so
don't,
if you want to pull it,
we're going to have to because and honestly, I think the Parks, Recreation, and Beaches Advisory Board has already mulled through all of this and finally came up with this decision. So, I mean, maybe you should invite yourself to one of their board meetings and have this discussion. And are you representing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Chair of the Parks and Rec Board.
Please.
yeah.
Good evening, Commissioners, Mayor. We have taken this situation here, and we have met on this thing probably 5 months. We have revamped the regulations and the rules, and we have unanimously voted for the rules as they have been submitted. We have reached out to the civic associations, and the majority of them feel the same way that the Parks and Rec Board does, and we have approved this thing. We have had several reiterations of it, and we have approved this final version that is being presented tonight. And we agree that the park should have the availability to have the dogs on a 6-foot leash based upon the regulations that are stated in the approved.
Well, let me ask you this question then. And I know you're itching to talk over there. No, come on up. I'm going to call you up
Wait a
in a
minute.
second.
I'll conduct the meeting. If you have a question or comment,
I'd like to see what you
well,
have to say.
she'll have her turn.
Okay,
We've got to get through this, and we don't want to spend all night on this.
Here's another thought then. Maybe you should have a mechanism by which neighborhoods could opt out. Like maybe some neighborhoods would, for whatever reason, like 1 or 2 neighborhoods would say, I don't want dogs in my particular neighborhood. So as opposed to opting in, the burden is flipped. And neighborhood has the opportunity to opt out. If a whole neighborhood decides they don't want to have dogs for whatever reason, I think that these neighborhoods, these parks are for the enjoyment of our residents. And if every neighbor, look, you have 4 different places that you could go if you want to have your dog. Maybe you should have 4 different spots you could go if you don't want to be. Give somebody an opportunity to enjoy a park. If they, for whatever reason, they can't be with the dog, you're taking that away, and they will never have a park they could go to. If for whatever reason, PTSD, or they bit my dog, or whatever. I think you got to respect people that do not want to be with a dog, so they could enjoy the park that they're paying to maintain. So I think that's something maybe we can think
We
of.
understand that. We have kicked this around. All 15 of us voted on this, and we voted for it. I do understand your option of opting out.
Yeah.
But opting in is, I think that's a very cumbersome process.
Okay, so let me redo it. Have the ability to opt out. That would be the other thing. Maybe allow them, with the exception that neighborhoods could opt out and not allow dogs in individual ones. And
But Warren, I still come back to the idea of how do we determine who gets to opt out? What is that criteria? What's a mechanism? What's a process by which we would go ahead and do that?
Well, the thing
not
is-
objecting to the idea.
Okay, but Carl,
what's the
okay,
process?
so here's why I bring Carl back up here. Do we have to come up with that, or could we, if we give direction to the Parks Department and the Parks Advisory that this is what we want, we don't have to be the one that comes up
Well,
with
no,
that.
I would object to that. That's a policy decision. I don't want to hand
you
a
want us
policy
to be the
decision
one
to
to
staff.
decide that?
Yeah, no, that's a policy decision. We can't let staff
Okay.
decide what residents
Well-
get to do or don't do. And we have to own that one.
Okay, so
for better or worse.
I still think that there has to be an opportunity for. I mean,
All
there
right,
are people.
all right. So why don't we pull this item?
Okay.
And bring it back to your board, and if the board chooses to make any changes, that would be an opportunity for doing it. If they choose not to make any changes, then you can also recommend that too. So don't feel
Actually, Mayor, this is one time, and I apologize, Warren. You know I love you, but this one is. I think we've beaten this one to death. It's been to the Parks and Rec Advisory Board. We've been talking about this for well over a year now. I'd like to move this one forward. I hear your concerns, Warren. I really do. But I really think that we have worked this one over and over and over again, and the Parks and Rec Advisory Board. I don't want to give it to a third time to go back and revisit this.
if we find out it doesn't work, then we can always go back and change it.
So just
It could
as,
be a month from now.
we've
John,
done
1
that,
month
though.
from now, you'll have another bite at the apple.
as an FYI, the opt-in and the opt-out was discussed at our last
Right.
Parks Board meeting.
Right. I thought we went through that. This is not, we talked about this in our conference meeting. We asked the advisory board to look at it, and this is what they've come back to. I'd kind of like to respect the work they put in on this one.
Right, I agree. I think we should just move forward.
Okay,
I don't want this to go down the path of the tree ordinance, like for 10 years.
Okay,
All right.
so what I'm going to do then is I'd like to hear what everybody has to say, and then
Well, there's only one person who signed up to speak.
Okay, let's hear who.
All right. Have you concluded your questions? and
Well,
your
yeah,
remarks?
yes.
Okay. All right, Stephanie. Can you please push the button underneath? Great.
Hello, I'm Stephanie Provo. I sit on the board for Riverside Park, which is in your district. And the board, as well as other community members that come to our meetings, voted that we support this. And the reason and rationale is because we feel that we're responsible pet owners. And, we believe in staying within the law of having our dogs on leash, but we want to be able to open up the parks to responsible pet owners. What we also feel is that this would come in line with Broward County parks as well as Florida State parks. So they allow pets, they allow dogs within parks as well. And so I think we should respect all people, and I understand that there might be people that, have sicknesses or have PTSD, and that might be more of the minority than the majority. And I think pushing this forward, especially when you have gotten and you've heard from the Parks Department, I think it would be very, very hard to regulate and opt in and opt out, especially for dog owners. I'll speak personally now. I am a dog owner, and I think it would be very, very challenging to enforce or even to know which park is a park that allows dogs or doesn't allow dogs. And I want to be really clear, this is not for dog parks. It's for allowing dogs to be on leash within a park. And so I think responsible dog owners like myself, if somebody's scared, I wouldn't go near other people with my dog anyways. And I think most dog owners are the same way. And so I think instead of pushing this out to meet your own agenda, which I'm not sure what it is, because many of the residents associations within your community support this, because I know a lot of the other board members in other communities. I think that's important to listen to the people in your community.
Okay, thank you so much.
Carl, can I ask you a question?
Wait. Just don't.
In
Wait.
something that was just said, I have a
I
question.
know, but is there anyone else who wishes to speak on this item? But you didn't sign up. You have to sign up. I know, but you.
I want to clarify. No, I want to clarify something that was just said, Carl. No, before Chris, 1 second. I want to clarify something that was just said, Carl. Chris, Carl. Yeah, Broward County. What is their policy?
Broward County allows dogs on leash at all their parks, I believe.
In all of their parks. Okay. No, wait. Okay.
All right. Wait. This is not a free-for-all. Ma'am, this is not a free-for-all conversation. You asked Carl a question. Carl, have you answered the question? Okay. Have you answered the question?
Yes,
Carl?
sir.
Okay. Do you have any further questions, Commissioner?
No, I do not.
Okay, thank you. Chris, you want to speak?
All right, thank you. My name is Chris Nelson, and I am a cat person.
You're allowed to bring cats.
Dogs are always like jumping in my face and being disruly, but there are many people who are dog people. And we should allow cats and dogs, but also cats, to be allowed in
Cats are
pool
allowed.
areas.
In pool areas?
Yes.
Do they have to be on leash?
Cats are are
Wait,
amazing.
but
okay,
Chris, do we have to have them on leash though? That's the question.
Some cats like leashes, some don't. Okay, but my spirit animal, his name is Nicholas, and he got into a scrap with a a raccoon or something the other night, but he likes to go out. So we need to make Fort Lauderdale the most pet-friendly community in the state of Florida. Let's allow cats and dogs to be allowed in pool areas. I'm not a huge fan of dogs. Sorry. They jump in my face and they do all these things. But I do. I have
such a good stats
several
talk there about
cats. I will not say how many cats I have, but I do. And my spirit animal does not like to be restricted, okay? So let's just allow cats and dogs to do their thing, and let's ask them.
Okay.
Like, what do they think?
Okay.
About it.
All right.
Okay?
All right,
Let's
very good.
allow them to be free.
Okay.
Thank you.
Free the cats and dogs.
Freedom's just another word.
All right. Someone like to introduce the resolution?
Wait. No, wait. I had already introduced a resolution with an amendment. What I'd like to do, and tell me how to do this, Dwayne, I'll withdraw my resolution with an amendment to allow somebody up here to introduce the original resolution. Is that what I'll do? I'll withdraw my...
First of all, you haven't introduced a resolution with any amendments. You talked about it,
Okay,
but
so
you
I
haven't officially.
will withdraw my request to allow anybody to introduce the
thank you.
original
Would
resolution.
someone like to introduce the resolution?
I'd like to introduce.
It's been introduced.
Introduced.
Okay.
Please call the roll.
A resolution in the City Commission of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, amending the Parks and Recreation rules and regulations. Commissioner Sturman?
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Glassman?
Yes.
Commissioner Beasley Pittman?
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and CR2 is now approved. Moving on to CR9. This is
So now we just have to amendment for the cats.
resolution
And I want you to
authorizing
do it.
execution of an easement with People's Gas System at Snyder Park. Two people signed up to speak. One just for questions. Ted and Sarah. Ted, please go ahead.
Holy cow, that was strange.
No,
I was
cows are not allowed. In
I was
parks.
at that. I was at that Parks and Recreation meeting that they unanimously voted, and there was 5 presidents from District 4 there. We were all approving of that ordinance. So just so you know, and so anyway, I'm here about CR9. I'm Ted and Sarah, president of the River Oaks Republic, and this is the ultimate bait and switch amendment that I've ever heard. What we agreed upon, or what the commission voted on in Snyder Park, is not even close to what they're actually building right now. So they have to come back with these amendments and these variances to fit what they're building. They need gas lines run through there for their big restaurant and whatnot, when originally it was only supposed to be a concession stand and a food truck, which you didn't need gas lines. That is what the commission voted on, except for our commissioner, because he left. But so that is what, no, at the time, that is what was voted on, and that's why they didn't have gas lines in the original agreement, because none were needed.
So what's the problem here?
The problem is they are just going to keep coming back and changing, and people voted for him. Jesus.
Yeah, 4,000.
I know.
Believe it?
Holy
Yeah,
shit.
really.
Oh, sorry, but man, oh man. Okay. The problem is they're going to have to come back more and more for amendments and variances to fit in what they're building.
But does this interfere with the use or operation or the enjoyment of the rest of Snyder Park?
You got digging up more Snyder Park.
It's underground.
But I'm telling you, then what? It was not. Why wasn't it then in the beginning, in the first thing that was voted on?
I don't know. Okay.
Because they had a concession stand and a food truck.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak on this item? There being none. Someone
Okay,
like to introduce.
Dwayne.
Someone like to introduce the resolution. Introduce. Yes, you have a question.
Yeah. We have the comp agreement was signed, right? And this is just part of our fulfillment. I mean, as you've explained to me before, I mean, this is part of our This is part of our fulfillment of our obligation under that agreement.
It is.
So this is not something that we have any latitude on.
No.
Okay.
And I did have a quick question about that too. I thought it always envisioned a full-scale restaurant.
It did.
Okay,
It did.
all right.
It did. People were calling it something else, but it was always a full-scale restaurant.
Okay, that was just my recollection. I thought maybe I was mistaken. Thank
We
you.
had to change definitions
Right,
to accommodate zoning, but it
Right.
was always contemplated as a full-scale restaurant.
okay.
Correct.
I just want to make sure my recollection was reasonably accurate.
You
Please call the
recall
roll.
correctly.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, authorizing execution of an easement with Peoples Gas System, Inc. over city-owned property located at Snyder Park, 3299 Southwest 4th Avenue, authorizing the city manager to execute and deliver the easement and providing for an effective date. Commissioner Sturman?
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Glassman?
Yes.
Commissioner Beasley Pittman?
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and CR 9 is now approved. Moving on to motions. So motion M1, a motion approving an allocation of community development block grant for Broward County Habitat Community Housing Development Corporation with joinder and consent by Habitat for Humanity Broward, not to exceed $482,000. Anyone have any questions on this?
I do have some questions.
Please go ahead.
I have some questions regarding the funding. I don't know if it's Rachel from.
Susan, who could
Rachel looks
Okay.
like she's walking up and
Okay.
down together.
Okay. And the questions I'm asking, I want the information basically, on record. I'm not trying to derail the direction of this, but I just need clarity for the community as well.
Okay.
Okay. The first question I have, what happens if the funds are not provided to Habitat, if we do not agree to this motion?
So I don't believe it's not that the project wouldn't move forward. Habitat would have to find another source to fill this particular hole in the project as put together with the project sources that they have right now. But they are requesting additional assistance because of some unforeseen cost.
Okay, all right. Does that have any bearing on the CDBG funds if we do not utilize these funds, or if it's not granted?
In what way particularly are you interested?
I'm trying to
in
find out
impact?
that these funds that are being identified through the CDBG funding. I'm familiar with fundings have to be used at a certain time.
Right.
Does this have any bearing on this request?
You want to take a stab on it? Sure.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners. Rachel Williams, Housing and Community Development Manager. It will help the city, in fact, because we often struggle to find shovel-ready projects for CDBG. And CDBG does have a timeliness, and we are up against time. And so this opportunity presented a good chance to get those monies out the door quickly and for a good cause.
Okay. All right. Do we know if Habitat has any additional sources to receive these funds? Have they inquired with any other entities besides the city for these funds?
I didn't raise that question, but I believe the director of Habitat is here, Nancy.
We can invite.
Thank you, Nancy Robin, Executive Director, Habitat for Humanity. Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioner. We have worked relentlessly to fundraise for this project with unforeseen costs due to a lot of different things, one being delays with flood zone changes, which really impacted this. We have 75%, if probably a little bit better than that, are coming from private sources. And we thought we were finished, and we're not. And the meaningfulness of this to this project, I just can't underscore enough.
Thank you, Mayor. That's my questions. And again, these were questions that were raised through the community. And we can, if there's anyone else, I'm finished with my line of questions.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so would someone like to move the item?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Sturman?
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Glassman?
Yes.
Commissioner Beasley Pittman?
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and M1 is now approved. M2 is a motion approving a billboard relocation and reconstruction agreement between the City of Fort Lauderdale and Clear Channel Outdoor LLC. No one has signed up to speak. Does anyone wish to speak on this? Okay, would someone like to move the item?
Moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Sturman?
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Glassman?
Yes.
Commissioner Beasley Pittman?
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and M2 is now approved. R1, appointment of board and committee members. Mr. Clerk, please read the names into the record.
Yes. For the November 19th resolution, Police and Firefighters Retirement System Board of Trustees, Jim Noggle, nominated by Commissioner Sturman. Public Art and Placement Advisory Board, Phoenix, Lynn Marks, nominated by Commissioner Sturman. And for the tonight's resolution, Fire Rescue Facilities Bond Issue Blue Ribbon Committee, Michelle Heiser, nominated by Commissioner Herbst. Homeless Advisory Committee, Michael O'Brien, nominated by Commissioner Beasley Pittman. Northwest Progressive Flagler Heights Redevelopment Board, Brian Stafford, nominated by Vice Mayor Glassman. And for the Police and Firefighters Retirement System Board of Trustees, Kevin Rudimer, he's an elected employee firefighter, and Scott Mosley, elected employee police officer. And that rounds it out.
Okay, are there any other modifications or additions?
Mayor, I have a question of staff, and I don't know who can answer that, but maybe Susan can. Susan, when new appointees come on to these various boards, does the liaison immediately do any kind of onboard training, or especially educating them with regards to our code of conduct in terms of behavior for board members, social media posting, things like that? Just, you know, what our code of conduct says about respect and how one should speak?
And the clerk's office does a reach out and...
Yes. We do reach out, and when we send the oath of office to be signed, we also send the
Code of
conduct.
Thank you. The code of conduct also for them to sign as well.
So they sign those two documents?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Would someone like to introduce the resolution?
Introduced.
It's been introduced. Please call the roll.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, appointing or nominating, if applicable, board and committee members as set forth in the exhibit attached hereto, made a part hereof. Commissioner Sturman?
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Glassman?
Yes.
Commissioner Beasley Pittman?
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and R1 is now approved. I want to thank all those folks who have agreed to volunteer for those boards or committees. Thank you for your commitment to our city. R2, resolution of the City Commission of the City of Fort Lauderdale in support of the Broward County resolution, urging the School Board of Broward County, Florida, to release all cities subject to the tri-party educational mitigation agreements and approving the release of the 2007 tri-party education agreement between the Broward County School Board and the City of Fort Lauderdale. Anyone have any questions with regard to this matter?
This was that thing that we spoke about from Oakland Park, I believe?
Yeah, we had made a presentation at a couple of meetings ago.
Okay.
Okay. Would someone like to introduce the resolution?
So introduced.
The resolution has been introduced. Please call the roll.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, in support of the Broward County resolution urging the School Board of Broward County, Florida, to release all cities subject to tri-party educational mitigation agreements and approving the release of the 2007 School Education Mitigation Agreement between the School Board of Broward County, Florida, Broward County, and the City of Fort Lauderdale, providing for distribution of this resolution and an effective date. Commissioner Sturman?
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Glassman?
Yes.
Commissioner Beasley Pittman?
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and R2 is now approved. R3, regarding the appointment of an interim city attorney, we might as well also talk about what our intentions are with regard with the thing for the conference that we didn't talk about. Why don't we talk about that first? Let's talk about the plan for soliciting applications for a new city attorney. Do you have any thoughts on this?
Want to do the same thing we did?
So yeah, that would be up to the commission to decide if they'd want us to do a national search, a local search, and we could have HR do that if you'd like us to.
Mayor, could I just offer some thoughts on this? I've been
Yeah,
thinking
please.
about this for a while. You know, we're in the midst of recruiting for our city manager. I think it would be in the best interest of the city to get that concluded. I think we've got an excellent interim city attorney in Dwayne. He did a great job for us last time. I believe he'll do an excellent job for us again this time. But it would be my suggestion that we just defer a conversation about that process until after we've after we've hired and brought our new city manager on board. So maybe defer this conversation for the recruitment for at least 6 months. I'd like to just get one thing kind of settled and have some stability here before we.
Yeah, but to delay it is, I mean, the city attorney reports to the commission, not to the city manager.
Right.
So one really has nothing to do with the other. And I hate to, I mean, we're already short people in our legal department, and now I don't know. I mean, I see your concern, but I'd hate to hold back. Let's start the process at least and get applications, and then let when the new commission is seated, let them make the decisions. I don't know. I see your concern, but I don't think
I just don't think there's a need
justifies-
to rush, because I do think we've got. We've got staff in place that can carry the ball forward for a couple of months. Very similar to what we did with Susan, where, we kept her in place until after the new commission was on board, understanding that that would give us some time to, kind of get everything settled. So I just think we'd be in a better position to recruit the right kind of candidates if we've just got a more
Focus.
a more stable environment at the time we do it. When we have all the players in place, the new city attorney is going to know who the city manager is going to be that they're dealing with, and that's something that I think they look at. They want to know who the executive team that they're going to be engaging with is going to be. I think it will probably get us a broader pool of candidates. So just a thought.
Does anyone have any other thoughts?
Mayor, you mentioned with the staffing in city attorney's office, how many, as far as manpower, what is the shortage number?
Well, we're down one.
Well, yes, I know.
But I know that we're always recruiting, are we not?
So we're up to 12 attorneys. We actually have our new litigation person starting on Monday, which is a hire that Tom completed prior to his passing. So we would have actually have only one other vacancy.
Okay. All
Thank
right.
you.
So, and does anyone else have any thoughts, concurrence with Commissioner Herbst, or do you want to move forward with HR and ask them to start the recruiting process?
I feel sort of a hybrid of that, actually. I'm actually fine with Dwayne as the acting city attorney, but I also think that we should move forward with the process simultaneously. I don't see any reason to hold back on that. But I'm fine if we go ahead, we appoint, like we did last time, and then we move on with the process. I think we can do both city manager and city attorney concurrently.
Where are we with regard to receiving applications for the city manager?
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Jerome Post, Director, Human Resources. At the last update, we have 59 applicants for the city manager position. That was reported by the recruiter from GovHR, Daley Lohman. We are collecting those applications until the 15th of this month, and the recruiter is vetting those applications and conducting individual interviews herself in order to forward those that she recommends to the search committee that has been appointed for the review.
All right, so we're moving
on schedule.
Along. Yeah,
we're on schedule.
Okay, so when do you expect the committee to review those applications, the proposals that will come from our recruiter and then present the final list to the commission.
The current timeline allows for the committee to review the applications in December, and they are scheduled to interview those applicants in early January.
So by end of January, early February, we should start receiving names to be reviewed by the commission.
Assuming we stay on schedule, yes, sir.
So that isn't so. I mean, that isn't so far, John, that we should postpone, setting up the process at least for reaching out, because by the time the process is established and put into place, we will have already chosen our city manager. So anyway, anyone else have any questions of Jerome?
Jerome, was that a number that met your guesstimate in terms of how many applications we might receive? Is that within the ballpark of what we thought?
It is. It is, in my opinion. I think a lot of people were waiting for the election. We did expect that there would be more applicants in the last 2 weeks or so of the collection. If we didn't get enough qualified candidates, we were going to extend that time, but it doesn't look at this point that we will need to.
Okay, good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions or comments? All right. Well, what's the pleasure of the commission on that then? Sir. Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Jerome, could you please step aside?
Chris Nelson, Fort Lauderdale. I would like to first congratulate Mayor Dean Trantalis, Vice Mayor Glassman on your victory. Democracy rules.
And Commissioner Herbst.
Commissioner Herbst, Vice Mayor Pittman, and they should have kept you, man. Big mistake.
Let's speak to the topic.
But I want to say that we're talking about Tom Asbro, and I want to say this man has been an incredible human being. I don't know what his politics are. I'm a Republican. He may have well been a Democrat, but you know what? I don't care. He was nice to me, and we spoke before he died. Right out there. I won't say what he said to me, but it was very nice. And I just hope that you will hire somebody who is the same integrity and character as Tom Asbro to be the next city attorney. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
And in regards to the conversation we were having from the dais as well, I am in support of D. Wayne Spence being our interim.
Well, we're not there yet.
Oh, okay.
We're not there. We're talking about the process of
The
where
process, okay, that's part of the process for me. I'm sorry.
Should we go ahead and start ask Jerome to start the recruitment process?
Where I'm at with that, I'm with the timeline that was just shared, and that we're on time with our schedule. We're on reaching our benchmark. I believe we can go ahead and start it as well, being that it's aligning with what we're doing. Do you perceive any delays, though? Do you think there will be any delays with this?
I don't foresee any as of today.
Okay. Because what a concern is, even as John has really shared, we don't want to get into a place where we have this, we're balancing two opportunities. We want to make sure, I believe we want to make sure that we're giving the proper amount of attention to each opportunity. So I'm kind of on the fence with that.
So Mayor, if I may, we can come back to you at the next meeting with a couple different options. Obviously, we could do it in-house, have a third-party recruiter like we're doing with the city manager search right now. You'll have to weigh in on if you want to use a committee again like we did last time. So we can come back to you at the next meeting with some options. I think it would probably go beyond the February date that we had for the commission to interview city manager candidates, because because by the time we get a posting done, et cetera, I mean, that'll probably go into maybe early January to actually start that process. But we'll bring some options back to you if that's what you'd like to
Okay,
do,
why
like
don't we
I said,
why don't we do
in-house,
that then?
outside.
Okay, why don't we do that? Okay, so now with regard to R3, resolution appointing an interim city attorney, Commissioner Beasley Pittman, would you like to introduce a resolution?
Introduce.
And your
So, Mayor-
introduction of resolution is to appoint Dwayne Spence.
Yes, that is
Maybe
my
we should ask him first.
Well, there are a couple of blanks in the resolution that we need to address. One is the returning to the same position that I have now after that interim period, which is the deputy city attorney. The salary during the term as interim attorney, and whether or not you want that to apply retroactively to October 30th, the time period I resumed the acting role after Tom's passing. So we've given you some discretion in the funding box. We estimated at 300,000, but that's just to give you some leeway. I believe.
What do you get now?
I'm at around 340 or so.
So
240. I'm sorry.
making-
I'm sorry.
Like, wow.
You got it.
I was going to say, I need a new job.
I want to raise.
So Tom.
Knew I should have gone to law school.
I'm sorry. So Tom was.
Can I apply for your position?
Did you guys all see my face?
Tom was at 272, and he didn't get his 3%, which would have brought him to about 281.
So what are we looking at here? You want to keep the salary that you're at now, since it's more than his?
No,
What is
he
your
said
salary?
No, mine
he's
is
below-
not more than
he's
his.
below-
I'm below.
Tom's.
What do you? You're 240.
240.
Yeah.
240. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I apologize for that. Yeah.
Even that.
It's
Okay.
been a long night. It feels like I've been on a candid camera program all night.
Okay. So okay. I'll leave it up to the commissioner to make to fill in the blanks. It's your resolution.
Tell us again how much
Tom.
Tom was receiving.
So he would have. How much he would have been with his 3%
was
increase?
3%.
It'd be at 2.
When did he get his 3% last time? He never got it?
So the information I have is he was at 272, and that with his increase he would be at 281.
Let me offer the simple one, because I always think it's difficult to try and figure out numbers on the fly. So if I may.
Yes, please.
So I would offer to amend it to suggest that we put it at the salary that Tom Ansborough would have earned had he received his 3% increase. So we'll let finance calculate that, and then whatever it is, we don't need to figure that out right now. We don't need to do the math. And that it would be effective as of the date that you began. Come on, Dwayne, look at me.
Yes, sir.
Forget her.
Sorry.
It would, this is important for you. That it would be effective as of the date that you began as the acting attorney, which you said was October 31st?
30th, yes.
October 30th, and that once again, as we did last time, you would have the right to revert back to the deputy city attorney upon the hiring of a permanent city attorney. Does that capture everything?
That covers everything. Yes, sir.
Are you okay with the amendment?
That amendment there, we'll move with that.
Okay. Please call the roll. Okay, so this is a resolution of the city. This is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Fort Lauderdale appointing Dwayne Spence to the position of interim city attorney of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, establishing the salary for the interim city attorney retroactively to October 30th, and providing for the return of the interim city attorney to the position of deputy city attorney at such time as a permanent city attorney is selected or upon further action by the City Commission, and providing for an effective date. That's the resolution.
Got it. Do I have to read it again? No. Do I need to read it again, or was that good?
No. David, go.
It's been read. You can call
Okay,
it.
thank you.
Call the roll.
Commissioner Sturman?
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Glassman?
Yes.
Commissioner Beasley Pittman?
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and that resolution is now approved. Thank you, Dwayne. R4, a resolution approving an affordable. Sorry?
Isn't that pulled? R4? Pulled.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's pulled. Thank you. PH1, public hearing approving the issuance of a certificate of public convenience and necessity for PDPMD LLC and to operate 15 non-emergency medical transport vans within the city of Fort Lauderdale. Known as, let me see, hold on. People have signed up to speak, but for questions only. Anyone have any questions? Someone move to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Sturman?
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Glassman?
Yes.
Commissioner Beasley Pittman?
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, public hearing is now closed on PH1. Would someone like to, is it a resolution?
It's a motion.
Motion. Would someone like to move the item?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Sturman?
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Glassman?
Yes.
Commissioner Beasley Pittman?
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and PH1 is now approved. PH2 is a public hearing, quasi-judicial resolution approving a waiver of limitations at Hemingway Landings condominium located at 1414, 1424, and 1500 Southeast 12th Street for existing pilings. Anyone wishing to speak must be sworn in. The commission will announce any site visits, communication, or expert opinions received and make them a part of the record. Commissioner Herbst, do you have any disclosures?
So I had a conversation with Romney Rogers. I don't know if he is on the board or not, or he is just an interested party. I'm not sure what your role with the project is, Romney. So, but I did speak with Romney.
Okay. Commissioner Beasley Pittman?
No disclosures.
Okay. I spoke with former Commissioner Romney Rogers. Vice Mayor?
Same disclosure with conversation with Commissioner Rogers.
And Commissioner Sturman.
I spoke with Romney Rogers and Ellen Bogdanov.
Did we speak?
You didn't call me.
Now I feel left out too.
Yeah, me too.
No, I
man,
really
come
feel
on,
left
Ellen.
out. Did I not correct? We did not speak, right?
Wow.
We did not speak, correct?
No.
No. Okay. All right.
And Romney, could you push
Just
the
wanna make
button
sure.
at the bottom of the microphone?
Microphone.
Microphone.
Right? I have to look it up. Sorry.
Oh, your paper was on. Okay. So several people have signed up to
I've never been in this position.
several people have signed up to speak. Mr. Rogers.
Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners, first of all, let me do the obvious and congratulate those who got reelected. I've already spoken to Warren. I told him there is life after the commission, and it can be much sweeter.
Yeah, you're living
Right.
proof.
And that's a good thing.
He congratulated me.
So I'm here on behalf of Hemingway Landings condominium, and it's located in the Rio Vista Isles. It is right there on the corner of 12th Street, Southeast 12th Street. If you know that bend where you wind around and go down Cordova Road. In fact, when I was on the commission, it used to have terrible flooding there.
We took care of that.
But this commission took care of that. This commission took care of that.
That's right.
Right.
We're a can-do commission. We
And that's
get
a good
things
thing.
done.
That's right.
This, I hope this will be simple for you to understand, and I'll talk to you at the end here about the one issue that will be spoken about after me. But if you can conceptualize mooring piles in the canal behind the condominium, the law says that they're supposed to be 25 feet from the seawall, okay? And most of these piles were put in 2009, and for some reason they aren't perfect, obviously, and they're not 25 feet. So they all go from anywhere from 1 to 3 feet past that. So what we did was made an application to the Marine Advising Board as per the code, and we asked them to grant a waiver. Now, they granted that unanimously, and this commission has to approve that. So
we proved that there was what they call extraordinary circumstances, which I'll explain to you.
How much? What's the extension you're looking for beyond the 25 feet?
It's on your application there,
Isn't it
but
like 2
there's
feet?
nothing more than 3 feet.
Isn't it
as
like
I
2 feet?
understand it.
Two and
Right.
a half feet.
Right.
Yeah. I honestly, I just don't think this is controversial. To be honest with
Right.
you, is
Well,
there anyone here? Is there anyone here speaking against it?
Yeah, the only
No,
thing
there's a little more.
Oh, there are people
there's-
speaking against it.
Dean, there's a
Okay.
little more to it than that.
Okay, got it. Okay, keep going. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, I don't think it's controversial either. I think it's a no-brainer, but I'll tell you why there's some issues after this day,
Okay.
after tonight, right?
Okay.
So, anyway, the extraordinary circumstances are obviously you need to have piles that have docks. So you need safe mooring piles, and they're there. And the 25 feet is necessary, but again, these were put in 2009, and so they're extremely it would be extremely dangerous, essentially, to remove them and try to move them a few feet. You know, you go down into a canal bottom and you secure something, you pull that up and you try and do it again close by, it's not going to work well. So the Marine Advisory Board obviously recognized that. That was important. There's no other exception needed. It doesn't expand beyond 30% of the canal, which is the other standard that you have to deal with. And it doesn't impede any navigation. In its narrowest spot, it's 118 feet from wet wall to wet wall or wet face to wet face. So the only issue that you'll hear after I sit down, or I can answer any questions, of course, is that there are a couple of lifts on those in the marine area of the condominium, and some of those lifts exceed that 25 feet too. But we are not here on that tonight. We asked for the waiver of these piles because we believe that was the right thing to do. We'll have to come back, probably not to this commission. Hopefully, we can do this in another way, but we will address those later. And at this point in time, we think it's the right way to address this is to do what the Marine Advisory Board has said is appropriate. They gave us the 100% or unanimous approval to do, and we would ask the commission to do the same.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Paul Landino, followed by Ellen Bogdanoff, followed by Seth Colton. Mr. Landino, how are you? Can that microphone reach you?
I think so.
Can you reach it? Okay.
Hello?
You're good.
I'm hoping that the commission will vote in favor of allowing the variance on this. For clarification, none of the pilings are on any private property, first of all. It goes into the canal. It's a very wide canal, as was mentioned. It's over 110 feet wide, so the fact that we're only like 2% over the distance that's allowed indicates how minor this infraction is. I personally have installed one of the lifts that was mentioned. I have a catwalk, and the specific piling at the end of my catwalk is 6 inches over the limit. And as mentioned earlier, to move that piling 6 inches is impossible. So as you can see, the issue here is pretty minor, and I'm hoping the commission would give us consideration on that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
You're welcome. Ellen, followed by Seth Colton. Does Brian Lilly live on the street?
He lives in the condominium.
The same condominium as
Correct.
Mr. Landino? Okay.
Correct. Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners. I represent Brian Lilly. I'm Ellen Bogdanoff with Becker Lawyers. So it is my understanding, and I think the city attorney can confirm whether I was advised that they needed unanimous consent in order to apply for this waiver. Brian was reluctant to provide it. He was the last holdout, and what he was told, he was unfortunately, intentionally or unintentionally misled to say that it was only going to apply to those moorings that were within a certain range, which didn't include the 4 that he was most concerned about. The 4 that he's most concerned about are on the far east end of the complex, and they were placed even further out to accommodate 2 boat lifts that were permitted illegally, and then ultimately they weren't built to the appropriate permitting standards. But it all kind of like just continued to happen, and as much as he complained, and this has been going on for about 2 years, he's been trying to get the city and or the association to respond to say, these lifts are there, they're illegal, they need to be taken down. I think the charter of the association doesn't even allow the lifts, and the boats that are on them are blocking his view. And that's probably one of the reasons that the association decided that lifts were not going to be permitted. Plus, the boats that are on the lifts go much further out than the actual moorings themselves. So what he has done is he revoked his permission. He did that the other day, and the reason I didn't get a hold of anybody is all of this kind of happened in the last couple of days. Revoked it because he was frustrated that, you know, it's like, okay, we'll go ahead and approve this waiver, and then we'll deal with the boat lifts later. Well, he's been trying to get them to deal with the boat lifts for 2 years. And if the moorings, if those come out, those 4 that come out that are on the east end, the lifts have to go, because they needed to go there in order to support the lifts. So if the moorings go, the lifts go, and the problem is taken care of.
Okay, great, thank you.
And we're asking you to please, we do have a compromise though, if I could, because we were trying to work it out, that if you would amend the waiver to let them have all of the other ones secured, which would secure your lift, because you're on the other end, and just take out the 4 that are problematic.
Okay, all right, thank you. Seth? Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. My name is Seth Colton. I'm here on behalf of Doug Marty, who's an owner in the community, and he happens to be one of the people who has a lift. And I just want to clear for the record, the lift is not illegal. It was properly permitted, it was authorized by the association, and it was approved by the city. So just so the record is clear, his lift is absolutely 100% legal, kosher, and has a right to be there, at least for the time being. We obviously support what Mr. Rogers brought forth before the commission. We want to encourage the commission to approve the resolution. It's rather unfortunate why we're here and how we got here. At the end of the day, as Mr. Romney said, none of the pilings at issue obstruct the navigable waterway, which I think is probably one of the biggest concerns. Boats transit the waterway without any issue. I think, as has been indicated, since 2009, those pilings have been there, and there have been no incidents that I'm aware of. You know, this issue wasn't on anyone's radar until, as we now know, it was brought up because there's a concern about lifts and views and everything. Well, those are issues that need to be addressed to the association, not to this commission, okay? And if there's some issue with an approval that was given and it was based on fraud, well, that's an issue that a unit owner should bring to the association. It's not properly before the commission here today. It's clear that these pilings have been there for a long time. Anybody who has any experience with maritime knows that pilings shift. A piling may be put in one spot. It could move quite a bit over a period of time. And so the pilings have been there. They've not been an issue. At the end of the day, we are urging the commission, as has been said before, to approve this resolution. And whatever has to happen with the lifts should be dealt with another day. Thank you.
Okay, great, thank you. Anyone else wish to speak on this item? You have to sign up. Yeah, but from now on, you're not allowed, because we need a public record to show that you.
All right, Mayor Dean, I would just like to ask the commission to adopt a standard that anybody who speaks should have to disclose who they are being paid by.
Okay, thank you.
He did say who he was representing.
All right, do I hear a motion to close public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Bob, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I'd like to hold off until we can hear what Bob has to say.
Okay, I didn't know you'd wanted to speak. Okay.
Yeah, this has been a rather long. Bob Dunkel, Assistant City Attorney, and I'm paid by the City of Fort Lauderdale.
So you're immediately suspect. Go ahead.
Yes, exactly. This has been a very long journey. Romney first got in touch with me and said that we've got all these people with mooring pilings that are out a little bit too far, and his suggestion was to move them back. And I said, that's not going to be cost effective. So let's work on this. Each one of these slips is a limited common element. So therefore, the condominium unit owner owns each one of those slip rights. I said, let's go out and get them to assign to the association their right to apply for a waiver instead of us having to entertain 21 separate applications. So that happened. I can't speak to the issue of the documents that Ellen just referred to. I believe one of the property owners has withdrawn his consent to that. However, all of this has gone through the Marine Advisory Board. Nothing was said. It's been suggested, actually it's been said, that there are illegalities with regard to the boat lifts. I have asked for quite some time for somebody to present the evidence to me as to that illegality. I am not going to start with the presumption that it's illegal until I've examined the paperwork. I have yet to have the paperwork put in front of me that would lead me to that conclusion. It has been argued to me that if we take those 4 out, that those people will be forced to remove the pilings. And I went, no, that's not the way the process works. If they're not part of the waiver, then they go to code enforcement, and code enforcement is going to, or somebody's going to say, why don't you go for a waiver? If you've already adopted a waiver as to 18 of these, I'll let you think about what the prospects are in trying to turn around and deny the others. I would recommend at this time, subject to the board's discretion, obviously, that adopt the resolution that's on there now. And then we will take care of pursuing any illegalities independent of this.
Okay, well, it sounds to me that the commission can take action, and if the condominium has an issue with their protocols in terms of what Ellen Bogdanoff talked about, then that's an issue for the condominium to take up. If the city were to approve this dock waiver, it's still subject to condominium rules. So that's a separate issue, and let them take that up. I agree with you. So, and Mr. Coulter, I think, has made that point. So why don't we move forward? Since there's no one else wishing to speak, someone move to close public hearing?
So moved.
Been moved.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Sturman?
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Glassman?
Yes.
Commissioner Beasley Pittman?
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, the public hearing on PH2 is closed. Would someone like to introduce the resolution?
No, we could discuss now, right? Do we discuss now? Or
Yes, we can, but would someone introduce the resolution? It's been
And that's for
introduced.
approval?
Okay, please,
Yes.
what do you
Thank
have
you.
to say?
Okay, now we'll start with Ellen. If you could come up, who would be on this side? Is that still Chris Cooper? Would you be with code? Would that involve you also, or would it be Alan?
It's Mr. Dunkel.
Or Mr. Dunkel's legal.
Yeah.
But as far as code goes, let's start with a few things. Let's start with a map here. I have a map showing, and if you could show it.
What is your question? What is your question?
There's not a question. I'll get to my question in a second. Let's start with the map, please. Could you put this map?
Which exhibit is it?
It's on exhibit
Page 13 of the application.
13 in the application. Let's go through a few of these. Nell, if you could come up too, Ms. Bogdanoff. Page 13, correct. And Romney, you could come on up too. No, we didn't vote on anything. We voted to close public hearing. That's all.
I forgot.
Can I ask for clarification from the attorney?
Yes, please. Yeah, go ahead.
If you need unanimous consent to move a waiver
No, I'm
forward,
going to get to that. I'm going to get to that in a second. But
that's what I wanted to confirm. If you need it, you don't have it.
Well, you don't have it. You're talking about the condominium rules, correct?
No. The city, according to what I was told, requires unanimous in order, because they had to combine all of them versus doing all of the separate ones. To combine it into one waiver, they had to have unanimous consent.
Let's let Mr. Dunkel respond to that.
When I started on this journey with Romney, he said, well, that may be kind of difficult for us to get everybody on board. let's go as far as we can and get what we do. If we have some holdouts, then we'll take the balance to the commission. No, there was not a requirement for unanimous consent.
Okay.
Go
All
ahead.
right, Commissioner Sturman, continue.
Okay. For the sake of us, show us. I mean, I've seen this already. I don't know if but there's 4 of them that are fairly non-controversial, and then there's the ones that are by where the boat lift is. On this, as I recall, it's either the right 3 to the right or 4 to the right that involve the boat lift. Is that correct?
It would be
3 or 4.
It would be UVWX, I think it is. Those are the ones. It was in slip 19 and 21 is where the boat lifts are, and they do not meet code.
Okay. And the ones to the left, okay, well, now I'm getting dizzy here. The 4 to the left are non-controversial.
Correct.
Okay. Now, I'm hearing things all over the board where it does meet code, it doesn't meet code, it's too far out, it might not, and whether there's unanimous consent or not. Dwayne, here's my question. This has come before us. Do we have the option now, at this point, to say, listen, let's go ahead and grant the waiver to the 4 on the left-hand side and to defer the ones on the right-hand side so we could work out some of those issues regarding whether it's unanimous, whether it's to code, and could we, I'd like to do that.
I'll defer your question to Assistant City Attorney Bob Dunkel.
Yeah, Mr. Dunkel.
I believe we've got 22 mooring pilings. Is it 21 or 22? 22. So your count is a little bit shy. If there are 4 at issue, UVWX.
Yeah. Could we grant the variance to everyone but those and bring those 4 back at a later date?
That is to your discretion.
And
yes.
that's what I think that we should consider.
Why is that?
Because there's some issues with that. I mean,
What are the issues?
It might be to code. Who asked me that, by the way?
I'm asking that.
Because sometimes there's something with the sound here. You don't know where the heck it's coming from. I'm not sure if they're to code. I've heard that they are not to code. I've heard that it might not be unanimous consent here. There's some issues. I think everybody in that condominium is in agreement with everyone but those 4. And those 4, there is. I mean, whether he withdrew his consent at the last minute or not, here today as we speak, we're hearing that there is not unanimous consent to those 4, and there's some issues here that I think, the low-hanging fruit is to approve all of the other ones, and there's some issues here regarding those. Is that true, or go ahead?
Well, it's just our position that there's no rush in approving this. It's been like this since 2009. There's no rush in approving it, but I need the opportunity to provide the documentation to the Assistant City Attorney to show him that they're not built to code, and that the forced removal of those moorings would bring down the lifts as well.
Okay, I would propose that we grant the variance to everyone but the last 4 at this particular point, so we could vet that piece out.
Are you making that? Are you introducing that as a resolution?
Yes.
Okay.
Mayor,
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
I have indicated that after this passes that we will get on board and start looking at whether there are code violations or not. It's yet been proven to my satisfaction that there are. The documentation may come forward, and if it shows there's code violations, they'll be pursued subject to management's discretion.
Well, so that at this particular, if they're not, we could always approve those 4 at a later time. There's no rush on those 4.
Can I speak?
Yeah. Please, Romney, please.
So I understand you might think there's some issues that are hanging here, but they don't have to do with these piles, okay? It has to do with the lifts, all right? As Mr. Dunkel says, we're all going to address those. We have to. It's what needs to be done. So this is very simple. We went in front of the Marine Advisory Board pursuant to recommendations from council, which was good advice. We got every unit owner to sign to us, the association, an agreement to go forward on their behalf so we wouldn't have to have 22 applications, right? Makes sense. And at the end of the day, you can't revoke an assignment once it's been moved on, okay? You waive your rights. You give it to them, you can't take it back. we move forward based on that assignment. So that's not really an issue. You could ask your council that, all right? So at the end of the day, we've got 22 piles that we just say aren't exactly where they should be, but we need to get a waiver so that we're compliant with the law.
But my thinking is, it's been here for how long? Several years? If you
17 years.
Right. So for those 4, what's the harm of waiting? And if you have to come back and get a waiver on those 4, once that's
it's like any other job, right? You want to get something done so you can move to the next part of it. Warren, I mean, at the end of the day, this has been hanging around a long time. We want to get something moving here, and we went through the process that your city attorney recommended. So I think it's really impedes progress. Because let's say you say, let's don't do it there, and she's saying, take them out. Well, you take them out, you got the same problem. You can't put them back to 25 feet because there's not enough foundation in the floor bottom of the canal to support it. So let's get all the pilings approved, right? And then we'll look at these other matters that are code matters. There's not matters for the commission to determine. These are code matters.
Ellen, what would be the, if they go that route, what's your comment about that? If they approve them, does that undermine, if they're not to code, what's your comment about that?
Bottom line is that the city allowed for the permits to go through and then basically didn't do anything when they weren't built to code. The frustration that Brian Lilly has is that the leverage is that the only reason those lifts can exist is because those 4 were built even further out than all of the others. So if you don't
they're
approve
further out than
all of the others, correct?
Oh, so they're not all the same distance out.
No, they're the furthest out because
How much further
of the
are we
lifts.
talking about, Ellen? How many inches? This is what it is. It's
Inches matter. Because inches matter.
I mean, this is ridiculous. We're trying to get through this meeting, and we're talking over inches here.
Because what you have is the reason that they were built that way is so that the lifts could sit on them. If they weren't approved at that distance, then the lifts could not exist.
But the lifts are there.
Yes, and they're not built to code. And
17 years later, we're complaining about it?
I don't know how long those have been there. They haven't been there for 17 years. It's the moorings that have been there for 17 years.
Well, the moorings have been there for 17 years. Aren't we talking about moorings?
You have a resident that has been dealing with lifts that are violating code, and nobody's moving on them. And the only way he can get those lifts removed that are not supposed to be there is to say those 4 should not be approved.
Okay,
that's why he revoked his consent.
Let me ask you this: if the lifts came off, would you be against the pilings that are still there?
No, but nobody's moving on the lifts.
Isn't that an association issue, though, not us?
Not necessarily, because it's the city that approved the permits.
That are not
and
to
it's
code.
the city that basically didn't do anything when it code. We've been trying to get the city to come out and address the code violations, and nobody's coming out.
But the code violation is also for the pilings, too. Why isn't there an objection to that?
Correct.
Why isn't there an objection to that?
Because the pilings aren't blocking his view. He has a home that's worth a
So
lot
this
of
is all
money,
about
and he's
his
lost
view,
his view
not about
because of an illegal.
This is about the view, not about the
This
distance.
is about the value of his home.
This is about the view, not about the location of the pilings into the water.
They're related.
But let me just tell you something. The Marine Advisory Board does not discuss views, okay? The city ordinance does not discuss views. Views are not part of the city requirements. That's an aesthetic thing that should perhaps be the purview of the condominium association. You cannot come here and say, well, my client's views are obstructed, and therefore we don't want those pilings to be ratified in their location because we want to get those lifts removed. You're saying that you would agree to the location of the pilings if the lifts are removed, which we're not. This commission doesn't want to take a position on the lifts because we're talking about pilings.
Correct.
The lifts are a separate issue, okay, and the view is a separate issue.
No.
So I don't want to belabor this. We've been talking about this for half an hour, and we have other business to take care of. And let's just resolve this. You've made you've introduced the resolution. We'll vote it up or down depending upon what the commission wants to do.
Now, let me give you some context, and that is not necessarily true. We've had other people come before us that have argued exactly the same because it obstructs their view. And in fact, they've come back more than once. They've went back, they negotiated, and then they came back again to Marine Advisory. And the distance out and the distance at the dock that they've built and the boat that goes beyond the dock, all about the view.
Okay.
That has come to us, Dean.
Okay.
And these people, they do have a right to a view. That's part of, the distance up there, the navigable waterway is part of it, but the view is part of it too. And if it is, I still think that we should approve everyone but the 4. You're just going to dig into something that might or might not be an issue, and there's no problem if it's resolved. They come back at a later date and get the variance.
Okay, so your
at that point.
resolution is to approve
All but the 4.
all the dock waivers except those 4.
Sorry, Mayor.
Correct.
The resolution has
and
already
we'll
been.
either approve it or not approve it. So which are the 4 again?
Mayor, the resolution has already been introduced.
Right.
Without any amendment. So it's
By whom?
Commissioner Herbst.
Gillette.
By who?
Herbst.
Okay, would
Commissioner Herbst. Okay.
Would it be okay? Can I ask that he?
Are you amenable to? Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yes.
I think I answered.
We have,
No.
wait, let's stop.
Someone introduced
No,
it.
no one. We closed the public hearing. No one introduced a resolution. So I
I'm
don't
going
know
to make
where
a
you heard
resolution.
that.
I'm making that resolution to approve all but the 4.
Which 4?
All but these last 4 on the
What are the
right-hand side.
4? Identify them.
V,
We're not. We don't not
VW,
mind
X,
readers.
and
No,
Y.
UVW and
Mayor, I
X.
believe the vice mayor introduced the resolution.
He did.
Which to introduce the
I
resolution.
introduced the resolution.
Is that your record?
When someone introduced it, I said for approval, and I thought I heard Commissioner Herbst say it. So that's how I had it down.
All right, let's back up. Okay, let's back up. So if your record shows, you're the clerk, if your record shows that Commissioner Herbst introduced a resolution as is, then that's what we're going on then. Okay? Now, Commissioner Sturman has asked if you would agree to a friendly amendment to that. Is that something you will agree to or not agree to, Commissioner?
I'm sorry, Mayor, I don't remember introducing it.
Look, listen, do you all want to stay here all night and bicker over inches?
Well, if he said he didn't,
you people are
if he
getting
didn't, then
ridiculous.
let me introduce the resolution. If he didn't,
I didn't. Excuse me, Commissioner Sturman. You're out of order. Now, Commissioner
you're-
Herbst, the clerk shows that you introduced a resolution. Do you want to stay with that, or do you not? Okay. Now, Commissioner Sturman has asked if you would accept the friendly amendment to that. Yes or no?
Before I say yes to that, I'd like to have Mr. Rogers' opinion of the friendly amendment and the impact that would have on the project.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part of it.
So Commissioner Sturman is suggesting that we leave those 4 out. What is the impact that has on this project in its totality?
Well, it is the obvious, what I mentioned before, that number 1, it's not what we asked for, right? And number 2, the idea is that, well, if we take those out and they're still violative, then you have to remove them. We're back in the same place, and you know somebody's going to go in front of the advisory board again. It's just we're wasting time. We got to move on and get this done.
So, all right. Thank you very much, Romney. I appreciate that. I'm sorry, Warren, but I'm going to go with the Marine Advisory Board's recommendation. Just leave my motion as is.
Okay.
Or my introduction to the resolution for approval.
Okay.
I think, which is what I've done. It's
Okay.
getting late. I'm tired.
Okay.
I'm with you.
Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, pursuant to Section 47-19.3E of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida Unified Land Development Regulations, granting an after-the-fact waiver of the limitations of ULDR Section 47-19.3D to permit Hemingway Landings Condominium Association, Inc., a not-for-profit Florida corporation as assignee of and for the use and benefit of the respective condominium unit boat slip owners, which such boat slips are limited common elements under the declaration of condominium for the Hemingway Landings condominium, such declaration being recorded at Official Records Book 46599, page 19 of the Public Records of Broward County, Florida, said condominium being located within the Rio Vista Isles neighborhood, granting a waiver for the 22 existing piles extending a maximum of 27.7 feet plus or minus from the southerly waterward condominium property line into the adjacent waters of Cerro Gordo River. Such properties being located at 1414, 1424, and 1500 Southeast 12th Street, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, 33316, and more particularly described below, subject to certain terms and conditions, repealing any and all conflicts of resolutions in conflict herewith and providing for an effective date. Commissioner Sturman?
No.
Commissioner Herbst?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Glassman?
Yes.
Commissioner Beasley Pittman?
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and that resolution is now approved. Moving on to PH3, it's a public hearing, quasi-judicial resolution approving a waiver of limitations at 1240 Bayview Drive for the installation of one boat lift. Anyone wishing to speak must be sworn in. The commission will announce any site visits, communications, or expert opinions received and make them a part of the record. Commissioner Herbst, do you have any disclosures?
Yes. I'm sorry, PH3, no disclosures.
Okay. Commissioner Beasley Pittman?
No disclosures.
I have none. Vice Mayor?
None.
Commissioner Sturman?
None.
Okay. Mr. Shine is just here for questions.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to ask one thing if possible. It'll only take 20, 30 minutes of your time. That's it.
Yeah, it's funny.
You know what Jack Seiler used to say? Don't snatch defeat from the jaws of victory.
Yeah. I know. Andrew Shine, Lockery and Chakas, representing Richard LaHecca, the property owner here. I'm not going to discuss the application itself. We do have support from both of our neighbors and unanimous approval at Marine Advisory Board. It's a very wide lake. There is one section of the resolution. I'm frankly not going to fight too hard to get it removed. It's not a make or break. But there is a section in there that by accepting this dock waiver, you can never rent out the upland property as a short-term rental. My client doesn't care. He just bought it, put a lot of money into it, and is going to be living in it for 20 years, 30 years. But 20, 30 years from now, this is going to be recorded against the property and is always going to be on title. And it just seems a little bit of a disconnect between prohibiting short-term rentals on here and a dock waiver.
I think that they're hand in hand.
I can understand it if you're in like an RMM 25 where you don't want people renting out docks. This is RS 4.4 where it's only one of 2 zoning districts where you're not allowed to rent out docks.
But you can rent out the house, and you rent out the house, you rent out the dock. Come on, we're not stupid.
I said I'm not going to fight too hard for it.
You rent out the house for a weekend, you're going to rent out the dock for the weekend. Come on.
I said I'm not going to fight too hard for it.
Smart. Have you concluded your remarks, Mr. Shine?
I've concluded my remarks.
Okay, thank you. Oh, please. I know this. I know what. Would someone like to introduce the resolution?
Wait a minute. I'm sorry.
Introduce, and this time I know I do.
Okay.
Wait for the introduction. I have a question.
Go ahead.
Mayor, you cited that if you rent a house, that means you automatically rent the dock.
You get the dock with it.
I disagree with that. We rented a property and off of one of the Owls, and we were told we could not use the dock.
Well, they were mistaken. You can, if you rent a house, and
we had no access. They told us we could not use
maybe
the dock.
It wasn't part of the house. Maybe the dock wasn't owned by the upland property owner.
You should have hired the mayor.
Listen.
No, seriously.
But this is what I'm saying. This was said to me.
That house probably didn't own the dock.
Okay. All right. So this is adding to my conversation, but
Yeah.
just hearing what you're saying reminds me
Of that
an
situation.
incident that we incurred
Yeah, but
when we were told that the dock was off limits, that we could not rent the dock or use the dock.
Your money back.
All right, babe, we're going to go back and pull our records.
Okay.
We have to close
Resolution
the
been introduced to approve it.
But we have to close the public hearing.
Move to close the public hearing.
So move.
I promise.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yes, go ahead. Please call the roll on closing public hearing.
Who said second?
Commissioner Beasley Pittman.
Thank you.
Second.
Commissioner Sturman?
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Glassman?
Yes.
Commissioner Beasley Pittman?
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and PH3 public hearing is now closed, and Commissioner Herbst introduced the resolution
For approval.
for approval.
Introduce for approval.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida pursuant to Section 47-19.3 of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida Unified Land Development Regulations, granting a waiver of the limitations of ULDR Section 47-19.3C to permit Richard T. Laheka and Holly M. Laheka, husband and wife, co-trustees for the Laheka Family Trust, UAD 11/18/2019, installation of one boat lift extending a maximum of 36 feet plus or minus from the property line into the adjacent waters of Seminole Lake, such property being located at 1240 Bayview Drive, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and more particularly described below, subject to certain terms and conditions, repealing any and all parts of resolutions in conflict herewith and providing for an effective date. Commissioner Sturman?
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Glassman?
Yes.
Commissioner Beasley Pittman? Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and PH3 is now approved. PH4, public hearing, a quasi-judicial ordinance rezoning from residential multifamily mid-rise, medium-high density district to the Northwest Regional Activity Center mixed-use Northeast District located at 900 Northwest First Avenue. It says KP Storage LLC. Anyone wishing to speak must be sworn in, and the commission will announce any site visits, communications, or expert opinions received and make them a part of the record. Any disclosures, Commissioner Herbst?
Yes, I spoke with Jason Crush.
Commissioner Beasley Pittman?
Jason Crush.
I had no communications. Vice Mayor?
Met with Courtney Crush January 24, 24, and Jason Crush November 6, 2024.
And Commissioner Sturman?
We didn't meet on this one, I don't think. No, nobody, no. None.
Okay. Courtney, you signed up to speak, but I assume just for questions. And anyone else wish to speak? There being none, someone move to please close public hearing.
Move to close.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Sturman?
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Glassman?
Yes.
Commissioner Beasley Pittman?
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and public hearing on PH4 is now closed. Someone like to introduce the ordinance?
Introduced.
It's been introduced. Please call the roll.
An ordinance amending Section 47-1.6.b of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida Unified Land Development Regulations through the revision of the official zoning map of the City of Fort Lauderdale and Schedule A revised compilation attached thereto and by reference made a part thereof so as to rezone from residential multifamily mid-rise medium high density and exclusive use parking districts to Northwest Regional Activity Center mixed use Northeast District, all of lots 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, Block 210 Progresso, according to the plat thereof as recorded in Plat Book 2, page 18 of the Public Records of Dade County, Florida, located north of Northwest 9th Street, east of Northwest 2nd Avenue, west of North Andrews Avenue, and south of West Sunrise Boulevard, all said lands being in the City of Fort Lauderdale, Broward County, Florida. Commissioner Sturman?
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Glassman?
Yes.
Commissioner Beasley Pittman?
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis?
Yes, and PH4 is now approved. And is there any further business of the commission on this evening meeting? Do you have closed door to announce? Oh.
Okay. Yes, pursuant to Florida Statute Section 286.0118A, I'm seeking advice on the following matter: Latoya Radcliffe versus the City of Fort Lauderdale et al. Case number 22-CV-61029-RAR. During this City Commission regular meeting of November 19th, 2024, at approximately 4:30 p.m. or soon thereafter, as may be heard.
Okay.
So the estimated length of time is about 30 minutes.
Okay. Do we have outside counsel on that?
We do. We have outside counsel Jeffrey Lawley and outside co-counsel Scott Alexander. And also included in that session will be the mayor and the commissioners, acting city manager Susan Grant, interim city attorney Dwayne Spence, assistant city attorney Robert Oldershaw, and of course the court reporter.
Okay, very good. All right. Is there any further business from the city manager's office?
Nothing for me.
Okay. Meeting concluded. We'll now resume our conference meeting. Hold on. We already talked about the attorney recruitment, so now we're just on commission reports. Commissioner Herbst has nothing. Commissioner Beasley Pittman?
I'm not going to share any tonight.
Not tonight. Okay, we had a busy night. Vice Mayor?
Yeah, I'm going to dispense with that, but I did just want to say congratulations and all the best to Barry and Pamela Starr, who had their last day of work at Hot Dog Heaven after 46 years in District 2. I want to wish them all the very best in their next endeavor and wish the new owners all the best, and I'm glad it's going to continue on as a business. I'll give up all the rest.
I've never eaten there, though. Have you had a hot dog there?
You've never went to Hot Dog Heaven?
No.
Cut it out. Oh, that's why you're so trim and fit.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's great.
Commissioner Sturman.
Yeah, I have 28 events that I want to go over.
We got plenty of time.
No, I just had two very quick things. First of all, I just want to thank everybody who participated in this last election, the poll workers, voters, volunteers, regardless of the candidate that you supported. Great opportunity to be involved in our community. And the other thing, I know you touched upon it briefly, and I just wanted to say once again how sad I am at the loss of Tom. He was a very kind individual. I mean, if I had one word, he was a very kind individual, and it's a loss that we will all feel deeply. And that's the end of my report.
All right, thank you. I have
Tom Ansbro.
Okay, I have a long list of things to. It's just been a busy last 3 weeks, but there are a couple of announcements that I'd like to make to invite people. November 8th, we are celebrating Nucha McCormick's 85th birthday, and that's at Casa Calabria over on the Galt. It's at 5:30, and everyone's invited to attend. Once again, November 11th, Veterans Day ceremony at the Sandy Nininger statue. Again, we encourage everyone to be there. The ceremony begins at 11 o'clock in the morning. Tim Ryan, County Commissioner, is having a farewell reception at the Government Center. That's November 12th at 11:30 a.m., and everyone's invited to attend there. And we have several. I'm sorry? Yes. Yep. So November 18th, we have Light Up the Beach, which starts at 6 p.m.
And that's a new date, so people should note that that's been changed. But thank you for bringing that up, Mayor. But it is now November 18th.
November 18th.
Thank you.
And then again, Tom Ansbro's Celebration of Life on November 12th. You're over here at the Mary Porter Riverview Ballroom, and that's at 6 p.m. Again, November 12th. So I guess that's it. And
one last thing. One of my
Well, there's a lot of things happening in the city all at once. So yes, Commissioner.
Oh yeah. Fort Lauderdale International Film Festival starts tomorrow. I was just.
Where is the first one?
I don't know. I just got that word from that.
It's at the movies.
Oh, I wonder who's going to be
Meeting adjourned.
advertising there.
Thank you.